Welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker, and we look at I look at teas here that judges have looked at, judges may have overlooked, and teas that we find out if they're suitable for you, and based on what we actually taste as we go through it together. So, look at the tea that we have today is a black tea, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is a Chinese black. I've got my Chinese style steeping equipment. One thing I want to note, just kind of as I start off with this particular black tea comes in a coin shape wrapped in foil, and just to kind of show you what the full one looks like, you will see that it is actually kind of it has a divider in the middle, actually a notch there, so it's easier to kind of cut in half. So what I'm going to do then is I've actually cut one in half previously, so I'm going to be able to use that. So I've sliced that in half, and that should be enough after that loosens up enough to really give us enough of a taste there. So I'm going to add my water that's been brought to a boil. It's been sitting here and cooling for just a few minutes, but it's still still got plenty of heat to it. So let that sit. Let me get this water out of the way. Put the lid on, trap that heat in there, and so the water doesn't cool too quickly as it's trying to steep there. Because this was pressed into that coin shape, it's going to take it can often take more time or more steepings before that coin, those pressed compacted leaves loosen up and really steep at their fullest. So while that's steeping, I'm going to go ahead and kind of introduce a little bit more about this tea. This is from ChinaChaDao, which is an eBay company, and you actually get the tea in this kind of tin here. This is a Yangsheng, which I guess the best translation is just kind of health, promoting health, and I would kind of put that in quotes. There's no guarantees, any kind of medical claims made with this. This is just a general healthy, quote unquote, again, TanYangGongFu, Tanya, or sometimes you may see this in a more dialect spelling, that Panyang Tango. So you may see either of those pronunciations or spellings. This is like I said, a black tea. You can get 30 grams in a tin like this, which is about 6 coins or 6 pieces for $14.99, $15. Again, this is an eBay store. Jerry Ma at ChinaChaDao has been working to set up and has already set up a actual tea store in China as well. So he's been in the business for a while. This is from Fu'an area, province in, I should say, region or county area in Fujian province in the Guishan mountain region. Again there, and let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about this tea. One thing you note, like I said, is the coin shapes could be easy for travel, convenient for something like that, convenient to give as a small, carry to someone's house, give as a small gift, or just carry along for a quick steep of tea for a couple of people. You'll note that this, as I open this up and look, I'm going to go and talk about this dry leaf now. First off, I should talk about these aromas. It's a nice, sweet, kind of a chocolate cocoa powder type aromas. I mean, you open this up and it smells like a nice, a sweet, aromatic piece of chocolate. So that's kind of inviting already. You look at these leaves, or as you look at the cake itself, it's pretty tightly pressed. You would not. It would be difficult to get a knife inside the edge there and work it apart into layers. But like I said, it's got the notch in the middle so that it can be chopped or sliced through the center to use half of a serving here. You still see some touches of gold, indicating that there are some fuzzy tips in there. You can still see fairly well-defined needles or leaves that are pressed on top of the surface there. So that looks pretty nice. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this back up and store this, keep it for later. This is, by the way, I should mention, a 2010 harvest, what is currently available on the ChinaChaDao eBay store page. Okay, and that's, like I said, also it's got a kind of a nice convenient carrying case with this tin to it. What else do I want to talk about? Let's go ahead and get into really about the liquor here before we go too much further. Now, one thing that I'm going to note is my off-camera tastings with this tea indicated second or subsequent steepings will be better because that first steeping is really needed to just kind of loosen up the leaves. So it's going to be a thinner, lighter tea on the first steeping with more fuller tastes and textures in second and subsequent steepings. As you can see, this is lighter at the top, but as you pour through, and the liquor at the bottom was darker, was thicker, had more flavor and aroma. This one has loosened up quite a bit, but I would still say second steeping is going to have less of the thinner, watery that I poured out. What you may have seen come out there at the first. It's going to be more of a consistent color, more consistent with what you saw coming out as the bottom of what I poured there. So, but let's give this a smell. Still some chocolatey type notes coming out. Something underneath that, and this is going to sound weird, but the smells, the feel that I got in my nose was white chalk powder. I mean, there's something that is just kind of a chalky type of smell, if there is such a thing. If you've ever been, if you can remember back to your days at school and you had chalkboards and there was dust on the erasers and you just caught a whiff of that, there's something of a chalky smell there, combined with that kind of cocoa powder type smell. Looking at these wet leaves though, I'm going to pull out just a few. This is loosened up somewhat. Yeah, you can kind of pull this apart with your fingers and get out a few. So I'm just going to take a pinch here, just kind of sprinkle it out on my lid here. And the leaves are still pretty wiry, still pretty wrapped along the middle of the vein. You're not getting a lot of loose leaves that are really fully unfurled yet. Perhaps subsequent steepings will give more of that for you as well. But and I'm looking for indications of needles, anything that looks kind of tippy as well. And so far, I mean, I want to kind of use my imagination and say, yes, I see something. But to be honest, if I were to look at this, I would have to say, no, it's not. I don't find a lot that's clearly obvious as a needle or a golden, what was golden colored tippy type aspect. Okay, I may have found one that's very thin, very short, very fragile looking, that could have been a golden tip in color, because by now, of course, it's all uniform. It's all kind of a chocolate or a seal brown type of color. And you're getting links anywhere from, say, ½ an inch to an inch. So you've got some variety. I'm just going to dig out one leaf that I did notice here that has kind of unfurled. It's a leaf portion. It's again that kind of dark seal brown throughout, and that really takes care of our wet leaf. Let's go ahead and move to talk a little bit more about the liquor here. We give that a swirl. Again, this was the first steeping. It may not be the most, the darkest, the richest in color, but still, this one does have a nice. There's a coppery element to that. There is a reddish coming out of there. There's a tobacco-y type, reddish brown type color coming out. Dried tobacco, kind of the lighter colored cigars, not the darker color cigar. Well, let's give it a smell. Some of that chocolate coming out just slightly. Looking down through it, again, good clarity. It's not dull or flat. So let's give it a shot here. couple of things I want to note. The brothiness, the texture, I would say is kind of secretive. It does have something silken about it. It doesn't drop off and become watery by any means. But it's not a very long-lasting, consistent coating. I feel a little coating on the tip of my tongue. I feel some coating on the back and upper part of my throat, and mouth and throat here, kind of just forward of the uvula kind of area. So there's that texture there that is mild, soft, and I would say in subsequent steepings, like I said, if you guys were able to get a stronger second steeping, that picks up a little bit, not a whole lot. Taste and aromas that I'm getting, I do get that chocolate that's still here, which is nice, sweet, rich type of chocolate there, with a little bit of something kind of plum-like, a plumness in it, so slightly tart. Think about an Oriental, an Asian. I can't decide if it's more Chinese or Japanese, but there's a preserved plum element in there. It's a little sweet, a little fruity, a little bit tart, a little bit not quite sour, but you could say that this one has definitely been aged, processed there. It's not necessarily a fresh, raw plum there. What else did I notice? Tartness. You know, you get some black teas, you can get a strong astringency, a strong bite, a strong tartness there. This one's low on those aspects, so this one is smooth. So considering the smoothness here, and the aftertaste, I should mention a little bit about the aftertaste. When you get into the aftertaste, you still have a little bit of that kind of chocolatey taste residing in the back and lower part of the, actually kind of the lower part of your jaw here. That's there, and as it builds a little bit, it also kind of fades and gets a little bit more of that kind of plum, the preserved plum aspect there, preserved sweet plum, I should say. And when you look at this as a whole with the aftertaste, it does have some nice nuances to it. A body that is gentle, is smooth, but like I said, a little more secretive than I would have liked. I would give this tea a 90. Like I said, good positive components. Something that you want to give it a test over that first and second steeping to notice the differences as well. So come back to Walker Tea Review, where, like I said, this is a tea that we look at, or I look at teas that judges have looked at, and that we look at here together, with a note that I want to mention about that. Tanyang or Panyang Tsongo, TanYangGongFu. This tea was a tea that was presented at the, I want to say, the 1915, there was a Panama festival of foods, drink, and this was an award winner. Having said that, it would be very valuable to know who those judges were and what their experiences were of teas. Had they experienced the full depth and variety of what Chinese teas had to offer at that time? Depending on if they had, would they still have placed this in the top as a winner? If they hadn't, well, that tells us a little bit, gives us an indication that this may not have been a fair competition as well. So come back to Walker Tea Review, where I hope to give a fair competition.